What's up, guys? Here with the Army Force Quick Change Transform Gearbox. Now this is the complete gearbox. Airsoft Club does have just pretty much the gearbox shell if you're interested in just the shell. All prices and links are in the description right there, so go check them out if you are interested. This is the rear wired version. As you can see, I have the wire coming out of the back of the gearbox, so this will go to like the stock of the gun. I already have it converted to Deans just because I prefer Deans over Tamiya because Tamiya connectors are inferior, so I went ahead and just did that before, and yeah. So there is a front wired version if you want the wire to go to the front, like the handguard, or if you want to use a PEC box. I'm pretty sure there is also a version 3 type of this. You can get a version 3 gearbox like this instead of the version 2. One thing I do want to touch on real quick though, the first gun I tried to drop this into was my G&G Combat Machine, and there was an issue with the selector of the selector switch of the G&G and the selector plate right here. It didn't match perfectly, it didn't mesh up, and it just pretty much locked up when I tried to go to semi-auto. So if you have a G&G and you're going to use this drop-in gearbox, might not work. You might have to do some sort of modification. I chose not to do that simply because I also had my friend's Matrix M4, so because I didn't want to do any modification to this before the review, I dropped it in there. It worked flawlessly. There were no issues with the Matrix. So it just depends. I mean, with all airsoft parts, there's always a chance that something might not mesh perfectly because you have just different manufacturers and they might work to slightly different specs. So otherwise, should be fine. This should fit nearly all M4, or I mean, this is built for an M4, but it should fit any version 2 gun with slight modifications for some. So what makes this any different than other gearboxes? Well, this one has, right here as you can see, a quick change spring. So if you have your Allen key right here, you can pull out this one because it's the correct size. Right here you have the modified spring guide. If you do buy a version that's not the complete gearbox, just sort of the gearbox shell, it will come with any part that is proprietary on this. It'll come with its own spring guide. It comes with its own cutoff lever, possibly an anti-reversal latch. There's information in the description. If you click the link to that, it tells you what it comes with. But to take out the spring, simply put this in the back of the spring guide and push and then twist, and bam, the spring pops out, no problems, and you can easily change the spring. So here you go. It does have a sort of a plastic spring guide. The front of the spring guide is plastic, but the rear of it is metal, so that's nice. I mean, ideally all of it would be plastic, but oh well. Here you have your spring. I'm not exactly sure what spring this is, if it's an M120 or what. I doubt it's an M120. It's probably an M110. But this gearbox itself was shooting around 371 feet per second with a 2.2 gram BB at around 18 to 19 rounds a second on a 7.4 volt lipo, or equivalent of a 9.6 volt. So pretty decent rate of fire and feet per second for just a stock gearbox right out of the box. So if you do have any issues with your gearbox, you can pick one of these up without any problems and hopefully just drop it in and be ready to go. It does have a micro switch in here, which I've personally never dealt with one before. I haven't had any issues with it, but let me open this up and we'll check it out. So give me a second while I take out all these screws. So I have all the screws out. Now we're going to open it up. One thing I can't stress enough that's nice with this is there's very little pressure on the gearbox since there's no spring in it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've opened up a gearbox and had the have the spring guide like shoot out completely. Even when I tried to hold it in with the screwdriver, have the spring guide shoot out completely and like hit a wall or a door and leave a dent. That's always a pain. But this was actually quite nice, and there was just a little bit of pressure on the gears, so they popped out of alignment. But here we go. It's all back in place. On this side of the gearbox, you just have your trigger right here, which push it and hopefully, yeah, there you can see it moves that part, which hits this piece of the micro switch, which trips it. Here you have your tappet plate, your cylinder. There's no ports in the cylinder. Here you have your cylinder head, nozzle. All seems decent. There seems to be decent pressure on the piston and cylinder. It could be better. I mean, there's no wear, although I haven't used this much at all, but there's no wear on the piston at all. Seems fine. I've only shot maybe a mag through it though, so if there was wear, we'd have some serious problems. No issues there. Gears, they look fine. I mean, I can't say too much about this since I haven't, or I can't show you guys much wear since I haven't used this a ton, and I don't plan to use this gearbox as is very much, because this is the base gearbox for the Airsoft Club M4 that I'm building. Originally, I planned to just get the gearbox shell, but they ran out of stock. Right when I ordered it, so they said, "Hey, we're just going to send you this complete gearbox." So I said, "Hey, that's fine with me." A bunch of parts, but I am going to gut this of any of the gears, cylinder, piston head, or piston, cylinder head, all that, and put in the SHS ones that I bought. So overall, for a drop-in gearbox, really happy with it. One thing I did forget to mention was here on this negative wire, I don't know if this connector right here was just a lemon, or if I know I bent it backwards, I bent it the wrong way. Don't know if it was just a lemon or if it's going to do that anyways, but be careful that you bend this clip right here, the connector right here, the proper way, because it's snapped off, and the heat shrink held it on, but you could tell it was really flimsy after it snapped, so I had to end up soldering it back on. But no worries there. If you can solder, then that's an easy fix. So I'm not going to put it back together just because I don't want to waste your time. But here we have the gearbox. I love this feature right here that you can just take the spring out, because sure, it makes spring changes easier, but it makes just putting the gearbox back together so much easier. Simply just drop the gearbox shell, there, put it back together, get all the gears to line up and whatnot, and I'm at a bad angle, so it's a little bit more difficult. But once you get it back together, then you simply just put the spring back in this way with the more dense coils to the back. You'd put that back in, put your spring guide back in, and just push the spring guide in, twist it, and it'll lock. So I mean, I'm really happy with this. I think it'll be a breeze to work on, since you can easily just swap the spring. No, I mean, it's not as easy as, say, the G&G F2000 spring change, where you just open up the back and swap the spring. This, you still have to take the gearbox out completely. You have to disassemble the M4. But it's great if you don't have any experience with taking apart gearboxes, or you're just not confident with it. Then you can take the gearbox out and easily just swap the spring. Say you're going to CQB and the gun is set for field, you can swap the spring, or then you're going back to field the next day or the next week, you can swap the spring again. So no big deal, quite easy compared to taking the gearbox apart. So thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below right down there. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.